Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hard Hitting Wrestling Show, the SCW Show podcast, presented by Clovercrest Media. I have with me the SCW Wrestling Channel. My bad, Steve in the house. Welcome back, Steve. How you doing?
Really good, thank you. Thanks for having us on. And I've got to say, best intro in the biz. Honestly, I love coming on this show. It always gets me pumped. Every time you play the intro, I'm ready for it. It gets me pumped for SummerSlam. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing right. I'm pumped up too, ready for Saturday, which is kind of weird to say Saturday, SummerSlam, instead of Sunday, right? But I'm loving it, man. Like, match cards are building up and anticipating what could possibly happen on Smackdown. But we're gonna do a quick recap on the SmackDown match cards and see if we come up with our own prediction of what possibly could happen this Saturday. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it, man. As you say, it's on Saturday this year. Saturday night's all right for fighting, as Sir Elton John once said. Let's get straight to it.
Yes, absolutely. And here we go. We'll start with the Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus John Cena, which a lot of people say is probably the top storyline so far and the most that Roman Reigns has done, right? The best promos, and he's at his highest peak in his career. So with that in mind, John Cena returns, and he's stating that, you know, he's being protected. Roman Reigns is being protected, and there was a purpose why he had to come back from Hollywood. And my side, I think, is he's chasing that 17-time world championship. But I don't know. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly intrigue. It's arguably the biggest match WWE can put on. There's no argument and question with that. I do think some of the build has been questionable on this, like you said there, like saying Roman's been protected, like with fouled gimmick after fouled gimmick. Roman's on top of his game right now. This is totally different to what we saw back in 2017, where Roman stumbled on his lines in a promo and just couldn't hang with Cena. I love the face-to-face they had this past week, even if, again, some of the detail, you know, Seth wasn't suffering with Roman before, and Dean Ambrose didn't run because of Roman. But at the same time, to see them in the ring, given that heat, given that environment, Roman able to hang with Cena on the mic as well, cool, calm, casual, arrogant, the tribal chief, head of the table like we're used to seeing. John Cena has got the energy that he's brought back with him. He's not here just for a payday. John Cena is here to try and make this as big as possible. I'm really hyped for this match. I think that when it comes down to it, it's going to be in Vegas, going to be, you know, what's it, 65,000 going to be there? This is going to have the big fight feel about it. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing this. This could be arguably, when you see that face-to-face at the start of the ring, this kind of gives me vibes of like almost like Hogan versus Rock from WrestleMania 18. This could really be that big a deal. I think people will be talking about this long-term after we see this match. I don't know if you feel the same.
It's going to be the biggest capacity this year so far. Remember, there was minimum people at WrestleMania, but here and going to Las Vegas, there's going to be a lot of more people. It's going to be overwhelming, and I got a feeling that the cue will be the reaction of the crowd. So I think we need to pay attention to that. But like you said, I'm a John Cena fan, and for him to return, that popped a lot of people off their seats. Everyone excited, but maybe some people wanted to see more of John Cena, maybe in a serious way, maybe a little like F9ish, if you want to say, but yeah, same gimmick, same everything, but why change who you are, right? I mean, that's a great point that he said in the storyline. But I would like to see him win, right? But as I explained with Hector, we're going to cover this tonight on our regular time, is that I think John Cena gave us the answer. In his promo, he said he was going to get his ass whooped, right? But Roman Reigns will lose, and he'll get that 1, 2, 3. Now, he didn't say that John Cena was going to win. So could it be a possibility that the Money in the Bank briefcase will be cashed in at SummerSlam?
Interesting. Interesting proposition. I mean, the thing is with Big E, he has been flirting around in the background with Paul Heyman, hasn't he? There's been a couple of moments where he stood there laughing, holding the briefcase. So there is a possibility with that. You can't rule it out. But I would say if I had to predict, and which is what you've asked me for now, I do feel that Big E, I think, will eventually be with Kofi and Xavier once again as a trio. And I think Big E obviously will be the main eventer of the three. Kofi and Xavier will continue as the tag team form of the New Day. So I think the more likely could be in the WWE Championship rather than a Universal. But hey, stranger things have happened. And, I'm excited to see what could go down. And to give a prediction, like you said, you're a John Cena fan. I must admit, I'm a John Cena fan. I respect Cena a lot more than perhaps what I did perhaps in the mid-2000s, probably underappreciated him back then to what we see now. So, if Cena was to go and win the 17, that would be cool. But the thing is, though, you know what they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I have a feeling this could be one and done for Cena. So I'm going to predict Roman Reigns to actually walk away still your Tribal Chief Universal Champion.
Oh, man. I put in the scenario on the hswshow.com. So check it out. It's called SummerSlam Main Event Predictions. I'm predicting that somehow, some way, Finn Balor gets in the way and causes that Money in the Bank cash in. And the reason why we didn't see, unless something happens this Friday on SmackDown, but Finn Balor got cheated out, right? And I think he's getting further. I mean, he went to the same scenario as NXT, right? Every time you try to get to that NXT championship, somebody's there to interfere. Somebody wants to pick a fight. Finn Balor is going to pick a fight with someone. And so I got a feeling that it'll be the difference maker will be Finn Balor. And then again, we're going to see Baron Corbin and Big E to finally get that briefcase. And at the end of the day, Baron Corbin is going to still be homeless.
Yeah, that's a good point you make there with Corbin, because Corbin actually stole the briefcase this past Friday on SmackDown. Does that lead to a match with him and Big E at SummerSlam? We have to wait and see. But there's a lot of different variables that can roll into this match, and it's like you said, we've got Reigns versus Cena, which is a big deal on its own, but there is stuff, behind the scenes. And like you said, Finn Balor's been a big part of this feud as well. I would love if you could build this to a triple threat match for the next pay-per-view afterwards. I have a feeling it will be Reigns versus Balor, but I mean, if Cena can stick around, I'd be very happy to see it. I think John Cena, since coming back, has been electric. Fans have been cheering him more than they probably ever have. So, I mean, I think it would be amazing if he could stay around for a bit longer in WWE.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if John Cena sticks around. We'll see. But Raw Women's Championship, Nicki A.S.H, Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley. I'm not sold on this almost superhero type deal. And I had an argument with Frank about it on the show. Not an argument, it was a debate about the meaning of almost a superhero. It's either you're a superhero or you're not a superhero. What's this almost stuff? Like, oh, you almost won. Okay.
Yeah.
You almost, but you still lost. That's the bottom line. But she did lose to Rhea Ripley, and then with all that's happening, I got a gut feeling that Rhea Ripley will become again the new Raw Women's Champion.
It's a very interesting dynamic, and it's a great prediction you make there, Ovi. When we're looking at it, because like you said here, what's kind of going on with Nicki A.S.H, almost a superhero. I feel to myself, I'm almost invested, but I'm not quite invested enough. There's something not quite connecting. And I think the problem is that with Nicki A.S.H, a lot of people don't like the character, and I understand your philosophy with that. I have a bit of a disconnect as well. But I like the fact that Nicki has gone out there and created her own character, tried something herself to get herself over. And I want people to try and get behind her, because this could be a breakthrough for other superstars to try and do their own thing, to get their own gimmicks, to get themselves more over on TV. If Vince can see that it works with something that a superstar like Nicki has been able to create her own character and get somewhere, that would be amazing to see. They've put a lot of faith in her, given the Raw Women's Championship, yes, with Money in the Bank. I think that's the downfall, because like you said, where's the connection here? Almost a superhero. It's meant to be that underdog story, almost get the job done. The problem is that Nicki A.S.H has already become Raw Women's Champion. And since becoming the champion, she's probably been the worst booked champion since Rey Mysterio back in 2006. She's not winning many matches. Yes, she beat Charlotte Flair eventually, but she didn't once. She didn't beat Rhea this week on Raw. She was on a losing tag team later in the night. So for WWE's strange 50-50 booking, or in this case, what feels 25 to 75, I think Nicki's going to escape with the championship. I think Rhea may be the one, or one of Rhea or Charlotte gets pinned. The other then will go to be the challenger for Nicki at the next pay-per-view, because it feels weird if they eliminate this very quickly. My main hope, though, is that we get a return of Becky Lynch, but I'm not so sure that's going to happen, especially now on the Raw side. Now it's been rumored for SmackDown. So I stick with a prediction of Nicki Ash. And I'm sorry, Ovi, because that means we've not agreed on either prediction so far.
Look, I can't believe you mentioned Becky Lynch's name. Usually when Frank will tell me that, I kick him out the show because every week I got to hear her name.
Uh-oh. Straight fire. I'm going to the bench, am I?
But you're right. Look, WWE has a way of keeping the relationship together. And since Seth Rollins is on SmackDown, it makes sense that Becky Lynch goes on SmackDown. But there is a massive call up from the NXT with all these changes that's happening, especially after NXT TakeOver, that it could build up that women's division on Raw. And if that's the case, if Nicki Ash was to retain the title, I'd rather see her pin on Charlotte Flair than on Rhea Ripley. But I'm still picking my pick, Rhea Ripley. I think she has it. I think it's her time. But talking about time, Goldberg thinks that it's his time to be champion again, and he wants to prove himself in front of his son again. But the WWE champion Bobby Lashley defends his title against Goldberg. So I'm still on Bobby Lashley's slide on this one, even though my boy Hector says that if there's any title that's going to be changed, it's going to be this title.
Interesting philosophy that if one changes, it'll be this one. Over, you'll be pleased to hear that I agree with you. I think the Almighty retains here. Here's the thing. You look at the Royal Rumble this year, Goldberg came in and almost gave a lot of people heart attacks because everyone thought that he was going to be the one to dethrone Drew McIntyre, and nobody wanted that at that point. Even if now no one really wants Drew around the championship picture, they didn't want Goldberg to be the one to beat him. Now we're going to have the same thing with Bobby Lashley. And if they book things like they did at the Rumble, it's going to be near falls. It's going to have us on the edge of our seat. I think it leads to where there's drama and excitement. So that can be really good. But no, even though Bobby Lashley's in his 40s, Lashley is finally at that point of his career where a win over Goldberg actually gets him to the next level. We're getting to the point where we can say, right, we can have Lashley versus Brock Lesnar somewhere down the line in the future if they can get Brock back in the company. But right now, if Goldberg's to win that championship, we put Lashley straight back down the pecking order. You might as well get his sisters back. You might as well get him pointing at his butt. It's not going to work out for Lashley if he loses this match. So for me, Bobby Lashley has to retain the WWE Championship. And I think even though we want the feel-good factor of Goldberg wanting to do this for his son, I don't think so. Goldberg's meant to have 2 match contracts a year unless something else has been agreed behind the scenes we don't know about. I'm going to go for Bobby Lashley to retain the championship. And it's as much hope as it is think.
Well, you talk about Brock Lesnar, was not to say that he comes back just in time for the Saudi Arabia pay-per-view, which is going to be happening sometime in October. I think October or early November, that time frame. But speaking about that, another title here is the SmackDown Women's Championship, Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks, which is now questionable to see if they are going to have a match this Saturday. And maybe it's because they are amping up a lot of match cards for SummerSlam. But this one is questionable. I don't know the answer to any of this because they had to cancel one of their shows and in one of those dark matches. And again, Bianca Belair, she's on top of her game. I don't see her losing this title. She hosted SmackDown in the state of Florida in front of a large concert, defeating Carmella. She's been around exploiting the title, being the face of the women's division. She's just starting. And to see her lose the title now, it doesn't have any logic. If for Sasha Banks, yes, she's the boss, but she's gonna take it, she's gonna sit aside as the boss and let Bianca Belair shine. So I'm going for Bianca Belair.
I love what you've just said, Ove. I love it. I'm going to be honest. I was very on the fence with this match, and usually one thing with predictions, I like to usually see the go home show before the pay-per-view. Now, of course, that's 24 hours before SummerSlam. So we can't really do that and then do our predictions, if we want to get them out in good time for people. So it's very difficult to make that prediction with this, because we saw how SmackDown ended last week. We don't know how the fallout will be this week going into the pay-per-view. And I like the 50-50 booking aspect, where WWE usually gives the stronger superstar heading into the pay-per-view usually loses when they come out more times than not. So that would have been my deciding factor, because I'm really on the fence of how this will go. But the words you just come out and said, the way they built Bianca Belair, the way that she's been presented, she was, it wasn't the loudest concert in the world when they were doing those matches from SmackDown, but they gave Bianca Belair that exposure. That was the place they said, right, get to learn who Bianca Belair is. She's been doing a lot of different things. And I just feel, like you said, she probably needs this more than Sasha Banks. So if this match does go ahead, I'm going to agree with you at this moment and say Bianca Belair retains. But what I would say is we've seen it in recent SummerSlams where we get, I don't know, a screwy finish somewhere, a DQ. We happened, I believe, with Kofi and Randy Orton in 2019, AJ and Samoa Joe 2018. If we get a screwy DQ finish, I'm going to predict it'll be this match, because I believe when it comes to the following pay-per-view, which now I believe is going to be Extreme Rules, I think we eventually will get an Iron Man match, a 30-minute with these two ladies, like we got with Takeover Respect back in the day with Bayley and Sasha Banks many, many moons ago now, it seems. I think these two have the potential to shine in that environment. So I think Belair and Banks will actually not finish their program here. It will be on the following pay-per-view. But if I have to give a winner, then I'll go Bianca Belair. But as just, and to throw a different suggestion out there, I think it'll be a DQ win.
Okay, I like that. Nothing wrong with that. I like it. You know what? DQ, or maybe this is disqualification and a third party shows up. Remember, she does have that little faction with Zelina Vega and Carmella.
It's there. So it's happening.
Could that be a build up to where, I hate to say this, but Becky Lynch comes and helps Bianca Belair? Yeah. Okay. Or there's another superstar that we haven't talked about, and she went from the NXT UK to the NXT, and now Toni Storm, on the SmackDown roster, she's supposed to be the new baby face of SmackDown. Could she make an appearance? So, yeah.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. But DQ, I'll be sold on that one. But Edge versus Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins did cause Edge the title. The referee didn't see it to call it a disqualification. But there you have it. Those two, the best of the best on the microphone. And they got a lot of similarities. But I'm going to hold my pride. I got Seth Rollins.
I have to say, I agree with you. I'm going for Seth to win this one.
You agree with me now. You wasn't agreeing with me before.
I think Seth is winning this. We said off air before we came on that there's a few feuds I've not been too invested in. This one I've been 2 feet deep in. Honestly, I have loved what they've done with Edge and Seth Rollins. The story going back to 2014, actually going on something that's happened years ago that many people would forget, and bringing it and making it relevant. I love the comparisons of Edge and almost Edge, and now Seth saying, I was Edge, but I'd done it better. I love all of that. I think that's been fantastic. And the fact they've had altercations going into it. Let's not forget Seth Rollins' suits as well. Honestly, I'm a recently married man. I wasn't allowed to wear anything like that. But I tell you what, Seth's suits have been drip-tastic. I've loved them. But seriously, let's go to a serious note here. This match could potentially steal the show at SummerSlam. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm with you. I think Seth Rollins here, he's the younger guy, and I think that he should get the victory here. It puts him in pole position further down the line to get a Universal Championship match. So for me, I'd like to see Seth Rollins get the winner. Edge doesn't need it.
Well, to reiterate what Hector has said on the show, he believes that Edge is going to win, and somehow this feud is going to continue for the next pay-per-view. I don't see it happening. Just because Edge already had his battle with Roman Reigns. Now he's with Seth Rollins. I'm only picking Seth Rollins because he is next to be the #1 contender for the Universal title. However, I think that there's going to be another obstacle for Seth Rollins, and that's going to prolong it to what I'm predicting, a WrestleMania main event of Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, should Roman Reigns remain as the Universal Champion. So
I like that. I like that. I just before you move on, I agree with you. I think there'll be more obstacles. I actually agree with Hector as well. I don't think it'll be one and done. I think Edge will want revenge. But I'm going to quickly just say, predicting the draft, I think Seth stays on SmackDown. I think Drew will come over to SmackDown. And I think the ideologies of Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre will be that feud that will be the filler that will take Seth Rollins to the area. So that's what I predict. We'll get Drew and Seth Rollins as a big-time rivalry for 2 or 3 months going over the winter season.
And that will prevent from Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley to even have that another match, because Drew's been on top of his game since he's lost the championship run. So absolutely, you know what? That's a actually great idea there. But will Roman Reigns transfer over to Raw?
I hope not.
Yeah, we'll see. But I don't think so. But the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, the Usos versus the Mysterios, I was biased in a little bit of who would I pick, but then I'm like, no, let me look at this the whole entirety here, and I do like that father-son coaching, the guidance, everything else. Let's be smart about this. We need to attack this the right way, and the son is listening. It's not one of those. A lot of people think that the Mysterios were split up, that father-son hatred thing. I don't think so. Especially late in the game, that Rey Mysterio may be retiring soon, and passing the torch to his son. But then you got the Usos, and what's personally, in the real storyline, that Jimmy did get arrested for a DUI in the state of Florida, and once again, always in trouble, twice in a couple of years with a DUI, and he is the champion. So I'm a little bit stuck in between here. So yes, the Usos are awesome. They're the tag team champions. I have predicted them, should they stay as the tag team champions, somewhere down the line they'll meet the Street Profits, because that is the match that will liften up that SmackDown tag team division. But then you got the Mysterios, father son. Who's gonna win? We're at Vegas, so I'm going on a limb here. Like I said, I'm stuck. I might change my mind at the end. Maybe you can help me with the light here, but I'm leaning on the Mysterios.
Well, it's good to see you going all in there with the prediction, because it's tough. This one is a hard match to predict. I agree with you. There's where this one could go either side of the fence, and I've kind of enjoyed the build with these two teams. Like you say, I mean, yes, with stuff that's going on with Jimmy, yes, the rumors with the Mysterios, and we've seen there's been a case of one-upsmanship. There's always been a bit of cheating going on, how the Usos won those championships, which I thought at the time on the kickoff was a surprise to do so. I can't remember what I actually predicted on the pay-per-view, but still thought it was kind of surprising at the time, because it was on a kickoff that those titles changed hands. But since, I mean, the Usos haven't held those belts very, very long. And like you say, Rey Mysterio has been giving Dominic advice, and Dominic hasn't always been listening. How quick does he learn? And that's going to be the trick here. Will he learn in time for SummerSlam, or will the Usos still be one step ahead? They have actually shown on the build that Dominic and Rey together have been able to get around the obstacles of the Usos when they were on the Tron this past week on SmackDown. I think when it comes to the pay-per-view, I don't see a split with the Mysterios now, but I think the Usos will retain. I do think this is the start of the storyline of where Dominic will eventually turn on Rey, but I think that is probably going to be saved for another big full pay-per-view. I don't see it. Where I'm a bit sad with it, the Mysterios won this on arguably a throwaway pay-per-view when they became champions. I don't think the match between Rey and Dom should be on a throwaway pay-per-view. I want to see it on a big pay-per-view. So let's say that happens around the Royal Rumble time. So I think it's the starting blocks of it, but I don't see it happening yet. But to give a prediction, I'll stick with the Usos just for now, because I'm going to play the safe bet, just because they've not been champions very long.
All right, I like that. Hey, before we finish off with our prediction for SummerSlam, a quick look is the Backstop podcast that I'm also hosting with the Boston Red Sox, Major League Baseball. They're starting their series with the New York Yankees for a 3-game series. Check out the intro.
The Boston Red Sox hit the field looking to get back on top of the American League East. We're breaking down every pitch all season long on Obi's Backstop Podcast, part of the CMG Sports Podcast Network.
And you can catch it on Wednesday evening, right after the game. It will be a quick wrap-up of the Yankees versus the Red Sox, and see if the Red Sox will bounce back ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays. But, hey, we're trying to get ahead on what's going on this Saturday on SummerSlam, We lead off with the United States Championship, Sheamus versus Damian Priest. I'm gonna keep this nice and short on this one. I'm going for Damian Priest.
Yep, I feel the same as you. I think Damian Priest is going to win it. I mean, the thing is, Damian Priest is a big Razor Ramon fan. And if I'm not mistaken, Razor won his first Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam in 1993. If you're going to do one thing from SummerSlam 1993 that you want to happen on this pay-per-view, it's Damian Priest winning the United States Championship. You don't want anything else from that show. It's god-awful. So, I mean, from this one here, Damian Priest, I think he's been with Bad Bunny. He's had a fairly good run on Raw so far. This is the right time to give him a championship and see how he gets on. So, yeah, Damian Priest is my pick as well.
And Noob and Company agrees with you. Priest for the win. So there you go. Yeah. Hats off to you unanimously. And I think that it's good for Sheamus because it gives him an opportunity. And he had a good feud with Bobby Lashley. It was short-lived. But I could see him going after the WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal. Look, it's a home court advantage. That's how I call it. Drew McIntyre will win this match.
There's no way beating around it here. I mean, Drew McIntyre, Jinder's great to get this spot. I mean, they've wanted to do this 3MB thing for the longest time. It's a shame Heath can't come in to be a referee or be involved in some fashion, but these two have wanted this feud for the longest time, so I'm pleased they get the opportunity on a big stage as well. But the thing is, the build has been actually okay. I've actually not minded the build for this. I'm glad that Jinder Mahal, though, has to go in on his own and he doesn't have the other backup. So, yeah, I mean, even though it looks like the back is against the wall with Jinder, I still don't see him picking up the victory. It would do more for Jinder to win here than it would for Drew to, but still, I'm going to go for a Drew McIntyre win. I can't see it going any other direction.
Just imagine if he did come as a surprise and the 3MB form up again.
I'd love it.
That'd be a great faction again. It'll be worthwhile this time around. Raw Tag Team Championship, AJ Styles, Omos versus the RKBros. Look, the RK-Bro, Randy Orton finally came out and admitted he respects Riddle. They shook on it. And then Riddle offered the challenge to AJ Styles and Omos. So we're going to have this in Vegas. Man, the only way that they're going to win those titles is if they pin AJ Styles, because no way in hell they're going to go ahead and tumble down Omos. I mean, look, that'll be the shot heard around the world if I see Randy Orton RKO Omos. That's going to hit social media, a lot of memes. That's probably going to break all the RKO memes ever. Right? I'm going for RK-Bros. I really am.
I feel the same as you. I've really enjoyed the story the last couple of weeks on Raw. I mean, the thing is that we could have simply just got Randy Orton come back, make the save, and make the match. They've made 2 shows out of a program of this where they've actually to put the team back together, and how AJ and almost didn't want them to be together. So I like what they've done with this. I think that it actually makes a lot of sense. But to give a prediction, I'm going to go for RK-Bro just purely because, like you said, pin AJ Styles. The focus has been for AJ and Omos to not have them as a team. It's going to break up with AJ and Omos. AJ's going to blame Omos after the match that he was pinned, or that AJ was pinned. He'll blame Omos for taking that pin, and Omos then will hit him with a big move. That will start them with a singles program going forward. RK-Bro can go and have a fresh Raw Tag Team division going forward.
Yes, and before that, hey, I want to include in that comment with Noob and Company that he said Drew McIntyre will win. Don't expect Khali to show up on Saturday. I don't expect him.
No. Might take a while to get down to ringside for Khali. It's a long walk, isn't it? Yeah, don't see that one.
Absolutely. But yeah, RK-Bros do fresh start. Hopefully, I get to see them versus the Viking Raiders, because that's something that I would love to watch and see. Because again, my prediction for the next WrestleMania, the Viking Raiders become Raw Tag Team Champions. I know it's far out there because that'll be in April. We still got Payback. We still have Saudi Arabia. We still have Survivor Series. So there's so much other pay-per-views beforehand. Who knows if the RK-Bros will last for a long time, because Randy Orton usually doesn't do well with partners. So it doesn't last long.
No.
But speaking about it, the last card, hopefully this is the last card unless we get more surprises on SmackDown. Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie. Deerdrop, which I don't even like that name. Maybe she'll. Sometimes I feel like Deerdrop is gonna go and step away from Eva Marie. That's how, sometimes I feel that way. But what do you think?
I think it happened one day with Doudrop walking away from Eva Marie. It seems that it's not in the near future. This, unfortunately, is a rivalry that's not for me. Look, you have to turn around and say, look, Alexa Bliss, she does well at performing what she does. I'm not a fan of the gimmick. I'm not invested in it. I particularly with the Lily doll, I'm worried it's heading to a tag team direction of Eva Marie and Doudrop against Alexa Bliss and Lily because of the build that we've been going. This, really? I don't think. I'm worried about it because WWE has put Lily in other places so far. Wouldn't be surprised. We had Al Snow and Head in a tag team match back in the Attitude Era. So what's to say that this wouldn't happen? Do you know what I mean? So I think one day it could. But to give a prediction for sanity purposes, I'm going to go for Alexa Bliss to pick up the victory. I just hope it's going to be on the kickoff. And to be honest, I am actually more concerned of how the crowd are going to react to this match. Because one thing, as much as I'm not a fan of what's really with the build of this feud, I don't think any of the performers deserve 65,000 people giving them hassle while they're in the ring. So I really hope this is on the kickoff. I hope it's not on the main show. And I hope that the crowd will be kinder than not.
Nubian Company says Bliss might win because what is WWE thinking over the weekend? I think he has some similarities of your thoughts too. I don't know. Like, this is a big surprise. This is one of those matches that they should have had on Raw and not in Las Vegas. When is this gimmick going to be over for Alexa Bliss? Because a lot of people have been commenting about bringing back the normal Alexa Bliss. And you've seen that The Fiend got dismissed from WWE, and which is a shocker because I thought the storyline will come back to where somehow Alexa Bliss goes back to being the Alexa Bliss that we have known before. So this is taken at a different angle. It's kind of hard to say. But I think it's one of those like, okay, here's Alexa Bliss now. Whatever. Okay.
Yeah, it kind of feels that feeling. It does. No. It's a shame because, like I say, big fan of what she does. I've always been an Alexa Bliss fan, but it's just this recent work. Like I say, she performs it well. It's just the material. It's not for my age group. It's not for me. So I'm not invested when I'm watching it. And it's really a shame because I think she's got a lot more to offer. And I think she could be a champion of one of the sides. Remember, she's been, 5-time women's champion? She could get to that level again if she was in the right way. And I think the way you have to transition that gimmick back to the goddess or to a different format, unfortunately needs to have some more nonsensical nonsense to get rid of the Lily doll to begin with. But then maybe we can transition if she's not got this Lily thing going in ahead, maybe she can transition back to that old character, but I don't know. It's not going to be some pleasant TV, whatever we're going to get with this going forward at the minute, I don't feel.
Nikki A.S.H will face Alexa Bliss and bring her back to reality. That's my superhero.
That would, you know what, she wouldn't be almost anymore. That would be superhero. She could be just Nikki Shh, couldn't she? That could be it.
Get out of here. Oh man, Steve, it is awesome to have you on the show. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
One more comment. Everyone wants the version of wrestlers like fans don't like Nikki A.S.H. They like crazy Nikki Cross or the goddess Alexa or undefeated Asuka. Yeah, I mean, you made some great points there, newbie. We missed those. And you know what? I'm going to set aside real quick because maybe I want to vent before I let you go, Steve.
Go for it.
NXT TakeOver, there's a big shakeup, and more likely they might be leaving the network back to the Peacock or WWE network, right? And regardless of what happens with NXT, I think it's very sad that when you build up the superstars to a certain character, that they don't perform the same type of character when they move up to the main roster. And I think that once you do that, you lose them with the writers of like, how do you want me to put them in the storyline, right? And I think that when they try to push so many to the main roster, you get these like, hey, WWE's releasing these guys. because they got nothing for them, right? You're wasting their time. That's a waste of paycheck. And a lot of people don't understand that the reason NXT came around, they replaced FCW, the Florida Championship Wrestling. That is to build new stars. It is not supposed to be an NXT brand. Yeah, it is a brand. Don't get me wrong, but not to the point where you're putting up next to Raw and SmackDown. It was never meant to be to compete with AEW. A lot of people, AEW won the war. There was never a war. You know, these are new stars. Now, keep in mind, some of those stars remain in NXT to try to make a face, but sometimes staying in the program too long makes I call it very dry, you know, like the Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. Why weren't they already in the main roster? You know, they're capable of doing that. So when people start critiquing, W sucks or W is not, AEW is winning everything, keep in mind that, it was us fans that they did listen to, right? Especially in 2019 when NXT took over Raw and SmackDown, right? That time when the superstars allegedly got stuck at Saudi Arabia and NXT went ahead and started conquering each brand. You know, that was awesome, right? And the hype was there. And then you saw Shayna Baszler. You saw all these people, you know, at their best. That's the kind of best that should have happened right away. Moving to the main roster and getting fresh people to NXT.
Exactly.
Right? It should have, but it never happened. And that was the fallout. And now I think W is trying to pick up all the pieces that what went wrong. And there's always speculating, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, they got no say-so in this and this and that. Look, Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon. He know what he's doing. He started the business, put it in a national platform. And for everybody else to try to do that is only trying to copy the only person in the world, and that is Vince McMahon.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, you pinpointed the exact place where NXT lost its identity. What NXT was supposed to represent was the Survivor Series, because like you said, the minute they won that show, they didn't follow it up the way they should have done. Like you said, that was the place to bring all these people up. Shayna Baszler came up fairly quickly afterwards, but look what happened. She didn't succeed. She wasn't the person. She was supposed to win that WrestleMania match with Becky. She should have done. She came back as almost like a vampire the way she came up, rather than being this dominant monster we'd seen in NXT. Keith Lee was on that same show, was the last remaining person against Roman Reigns in that Survivor Series match. What did he do? Yes, he beat Randy Orton the first week. Thought, great, Keith Lee's going to be that guy, but everything else was soured on, and they changed everything that was working in NXT. Like you said, the connection between the two shows isn't quite there. So many people from that NXT should have come up straight away to Raw and SmackDown. Like you said, it could have been a refresh, a restart. NXT could have kept what was the identity, because it was clear those NXT stars were ready to jump. Instead, they completely locked them down. They then didn't treat it the same as Raw and SmackDown again. Didn't have people trying to get perhaps revenge from Raw and SmackDown, get those stars on those shows to try and keep those ratings up. And then, of course, like you said, AEW got those ratings higher and higher and higher. NXT's went lower and lower and lower. And let's not forget, the pandemic does play its part. NXT suffered more, along with Impact Wrestling. Those were the two places that suffered most without their fans. Smaller arenas really miss that noise, because that noise can be heard loudly, like it's 10,000, 15,000 people, even though it's just a handful of people. Those people that go there are hardcore and loud. It's not like you go into Corpus Christi watching a SmackDown and you can hear a pin drop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a totally different environment. So those were the places where NXT really lost it. And now they're a place where, like you said, they have to start again. And like you say, even though I don't want Vince to take over NXT with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, at the same time, Vince does need to have more connection with NXT, because then you've got more chance of those stars, when they're eventually brought to Raw and SmackDown, to have continuity with those characters. If they've got over then in NXT, they will then get over on Raw and SmackDown, because there will be continuity, rather than being booked one way on one show and then completely different on another. The only one I can see and can say right now has been booked the same is Riddle, but it took a transition from when he came to SmackDown to Raw to get into RK-Bro. that's when Riddle has now got to the Riddle that we saw in NXT. The moment was like, Randy, you make me happy. It's like, you couldn't help but laugh at that line last night because it was the Riddle we knew that we saw in NXT when it was with Pete Dunne. It's that same relationship. So that's why it works so well. So yeah, I think you make awesome points. I agree with everything. And it's such a shame that NXT has had to come to this because before AEW, that's what NXT was. It was the alternative for many, many years. But when it was the alternative, it lost its identity.
Steve, you make me happy.
You make me happy. Thank you so much. It's so great to be back on the HHW show. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
The pleasure's mine, man. And hey, don't forget, follow Steve at Twitter, SCW_Steve. You can also follow him on Facebook and subscribe to his YouTube channel, that SCW Wrestling channel.
Thank you.
And once again, if you miss him out on his shows, you can definitely catch him on hhwshow.com. I love sharing his video, putting it out there. Very informative, very entertaining. And once again, thank you so much. And on behalf of Steve and myself, tune in tonight at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the rest of the crew to show up to talk more about SummerSlam and the outlook of what's going to happen in the future for WWE.